Trunkmaker to Titan, a prestige documentary by logo to luxury. Set up and call to adventure. The world before Vuitton, before Louis Vuitton became an emblem of global luxury, before monograms and runways and celebrity contracts. It was simply a name on a workshop in 19th century Paris. And before it was a brand, it was a craft. The 1800s were an age of speed. Railways crisscrossed Europe, steamships crossed oceans, tourism was no longer a privilege. It was becoming an industry. But there was a problem the world didn't notice. Travel destroyed everything. Luggage cracked, clothing wrinkled, steam, rain, salt, soot. The world itself damaged the possessions travelers carried. Beauty had no way of surviving motion. The call. Louis Vuitton was not born into wealth. He did not inherit an empire. He did not come from aristocracy. At 14, he walked nearly 300 kilometers from his village to Paris, where he became an apprentice at a box-making workshop. What no one could have predicted was how that walk would reshape the aesthetic economy of the 20th century. Box-making was not glamorous. It required mathematics, geometry, carpentry, and patience. But it offered something more important: order. Box-makers were craftsmen who brought structure to chaos. They built containers that protected the fragile world of the wealthy. Crossing the threshold. In 1854, Louis Vuitton opened his own workshop in Paris. He offered something radical: flat-topped trunks that could be stacked. This detail seems trivial today, but at the time, most trunks had rounded lids. They were beautiful but impractical. Vuitton's trunks were not just designed, they were engineered, and engineering would become the soul of the brand. Tests, allies, and enemies. The enemy. As the world accelerated, Vuitton encountered his first true adversary: the brutality of travel itself. Rain soaked through leather, salt curled wood, heat melted glues, friction tore fabrics, insects ate linings. This wasn't fashion versus trend, this was craft versus physics. And physics has no sympathy for luggage. To win, Vuitton developed new materials, new shapes, and new closures. He treated luggage not as fashion, but as technology. Reward: aristocratic patronage. The aristocracy noticed. In the 19th century, status didn't speak through brands, it spoke through objects and the people who made them. Vuitton became the official trunk maker to Empress Eugénie, wife of Napoleon III. With royalty came visibility. With visibility came orders. With orders came prestige. But prestige attracts predators. The second antagonist appeared. As Vuitton's trunks traveled across Europe, imitators appeared. Competitors copied shapes, dimensions, closures, linings, anything that could be observed and reproduced. The brand had crossed into a new domain of conflict, not against nature, but against others. To defend his craft, Vuitton created the first patterned canvas coverings, not as fashion, but as anti-counterfeit systems. The damier pattern was born not from vanity, but from necessity. Death of the founder and the ordeal. When Louis Vuitton died in 1892, the brand could have ended there as a skilled workshop with noble clients. Instead, it entered its most dangerous phase, the founderless era. Founderless brands either become mediocre or they evolve. And the luxury cemetery is full of brands that did not survive founder death. His son, Georges Vuitton, chose evolution, and evolution requires invention. The resurrection of the brand. The monogram is a weapon. In 1896, Georges introduced the LV monogram, a graphic language of diamonds, quatrefoils, and flowers. It was not merely decoration, it was identity made visible. A trunk was no longer just storage, it was self-expression. With a single pattern, Louis Vuitton moved from craft to symbol, and symbols behave differently from products. Products are consumed, symbols are performed, and symbols scale, industrialization, war, and survival. But history would accelerate faster than any trunk could be packed for. The 20th century brought world wars, depressions, and industrialization. Many aristocratic brands died as their customers disappeared. Louis Vuitton survived because it had shifted its customer from aristocracy to aspiration. This would become one of the brand's greatest strategic advantages. But survival brings a new enemy, the third antagonist, mass luxury. In the late 20th century, globalization transformed luxury from a private language into a public one. Fashion weeks, duty-free shopping, airports, tourism, celebrities, credit cards. Suddenly, millions wanted what thousands once owned. Demand exploded, access increased, scarcity collapsed. This is the paradox of modern luxury. The more people who can afford a symbol, the less symbolic it becomes. And in that paradox lies the question every modern luxury house must answer. How do you scale desire without killing it? Return with the elixir, the LVMH era and the empire of desire. And then a new kind of patron arrived. Not a monarch, not a muse, but a financier with a vision for an empire. In 1987, Louis Vuitton merged with Moet Hennessy to form LVMH, the first true luxury conglomerate. Under Bernard Arnault, Louis Vuitton was no longer simply a trunk maker or a fashion house. It became the cornerstone of a global empire built on scarcity, psychology, and cultural power. To maintain prestige in a world of mass luxury, Louis Vuitton developed new mechanisms: scarcity through limited runs, status through waiting lists, legitimacy through art collaborations, relevance through celebrity contracts, cultural power through museums and exhibitions. Louis Vuitton had discovered the modern elixir of luxury, desire without saturation. Luxury survives not by selling product, but by controlling access. And in a world where everything is for sale, access becomes the final luxury. The Titan phase. Today, Louis Vuitton is no longer defined by what it makes. It is defined by what it means. It represents wealth without apology, mobility without chaos, prestige without permission, status without explanation. From trunk maker to titan, from workshop to empire, from craft to culture. Louis Vuitton did not merely survive mass luxury, it mastered it. Prestige binge handoff to Dior. If you enjoyed this exploration of how a trunk maker became a cultural titan, subscribe to Logo to Luxury, where we decode how brands become symbols,